What if everything you've been told about calming anxiety is missing something essential? You've probably heard that mindfulness is the key. Focus on your breath, live in the present, let go of thoughts. But here's the paradox. What if the very effort to be mindful sometimes makes anxiety worse? What if your mind isn't something to silence, but something to understand? When people feel anxious, they often rush to mindfulness because it promises stillness. It's simple, accessible, and it feels spiritual. You breathe deeply. You count seconds. You tell yourself to just be here now. But here's what usually happens. The moment you sit down to quiet your thoughts, they get louder. The more you try to not think, the more your mind reminds you of every single thing you're trying to avoid. And soon, that peaceful breathing turns into a quiet panic. Philosophy, on the other hand, doesn't ask you to silence your thoughts. It asks you to question them, to ask where they come from, what they mean, and whether they truly define you. It's not about escaping the storm. It's about learning why it's there. Think about this. Mindfulness is about presence. Philosophy is about perspective. Mindfulness helps you notice what is. Philosophy helps you understand why. And when it comes to anxiety, both play very different roles. One calms the surface, the other explores the depths. Let's take an example. You wake up feeling anxious. Your heart is racing. Your mind is full of worries about work, relationships, and the future. A mindfulness teacher would tell you to breathe, to come back to your senses, to observe your thoughts like clouds in the sky. It's beautiful advice. But sometimes you can't just watch those clouds, because they turn into storms. That's when philosophy steps in. A philosopher might ask, what are you really afraid of? Or, what story are you telling yourself about the future? Because behind anxiety, there's always a story about control, uncertainty, or meaning. You're not just scared of what might happen. You're scared that you won't be able to handle it. You're scared that life doesn't make sense. Philosophy doesn't try to erase fear. It tries to make sense of it. Stoic philosophers like Epictetus taught that anxiety comes not from events themselves, but from how we interpret them. The world isn't scary. Our thoughts about the world are. That realization alone can shift everything. But mindfulness, too, has its power. It helps you feel your anxiety without drowning in it. It reminds you that you're more than your thoughts, that they come and go like waves. It's the practice of not reacting, of giving space between feeling and action. So maybe the real secret isn't choosing between mindfulness and philosophy. Maybe it's learning how they work together. Because when you use mindfulness alone, you may become calm but confused. You silence your mind, but you don't always understand it. And when you use only philosophy, you might become aware but restless. You analyze everything until your thoughts spin even faster. The truth is, anxiety often needs both, the calm of mindfulness and the clarity of philosophy. Imagine anxiety as a stormy sea. Mindfulness teaches you how to float, to stay on the surface, breathe, and trust the waves won't kill you. Philosophy teaches you how to dive, to explore what's beneath, to see what creates those waves in the first place. One gives peace, the other gives power. The reason anxiety feels so overwhelming is that it's not just physical, it's existential. You're not only afraid of losing control, you're afraid of losing meaning. That's where philosophy becomes a lifeline. Existential thinkers like Soren Kierkegaard and Camus saw anxiety as a sign of awareness, a proof that one is alive, conscious, and questioning. Anxiety means you care. It's not a defect. It's your soul stretching against the limits of comfort. Mindfulness tells you to breathe through that discomfort. Philosophy tells you to learn from it. But let's be honest, when anxiety hits, no quote from Marcus Aurelius or a deep breath feels enough. You want relief. You want certainty. And both mindfulness and philosophy can feel too abstract when your chest is tight and your mind won't stop racing. That's why the real work is not in choosing one path. but in integrating them. When you practice mindfulness, don't just empty your mind. Listen to it. Observe what it's trying to tell you. And when you practice philosophy, don't just analyze endlessly. Feel what those thoughts do to you. Balance the heart and the mind. Because anxiety isn't just about fear, it's about disconnection. Disconnection from your body, from your beliefs, from your sense of purpose. Mindfulness reconnects you to your body. Philosophy reconnects you to your beliefs. Together, they bring back meaning. And maybe that's the hidden truth. You're not supposed to get rid of anxiety. You're supposed to understand it, work with it, and grow through it. When you stop seeing anxiety as an enemy, something shifts. Instead of fighting it, you begin to ask, what is this feeling trying to teach me? That's the moment philosophy and mindfulness start to merge. Mindfulness grounds you in the now, while philosophy helps you interpret the why behind the now. Together, they turn anxiety from chaos into insight. Let's go deeper. Imagine a moment of panic. Your chest tightens, your hands shake, your thoughts run wild. A mindfulness approach says, return to your breath. Focus on what you can feel. You notice your feet on the floor, the air in your lungs, the sounds around you. That awareness doesn't erase the fear, but it stops you from being swallowed by it. You anchor yourself in the present. Now imagine a philosophical response to that same moment. You might ask, why am I afraid of this situation? What belief makes it feel threatening? Maybe you realize that beneath your fear of failure lies a belief that you're only worthy if you succeed. Or that beneath your social anxiety lies a belief that people must always approve of you. Philosophy doesn't quiet the storm. It shows you its roots. That's the difference. Mindfulness deals with the symptom of anxiety, the racing heart, the loop of thoughts. Philosophy deals with the cause, the worldview that fuels it. And if you combine them, you don't just survive anxiety, you start to transform it. Most people use mindfulness as a temporary escape. They breathe, they meditate, and they feel better until the next wave hits. But when you add philosophical reflection, that next wave doesn't hit as hard because you've already changed the meaning behind it. You start to realize that your anxiety isn't random. It's connected to your expectations, attachments, and assumptions about life. Take one of the oldest philosophical insights. You can't control what happens, but you can control how you interpret it. That idea from Stoicism mirrors mindfulness perfectly. Both tell you to stay centered, to respond rather than react. But philosophy adds an extra layer. It helps you see that your peace depends on what you value. If your peace depends on things you can't control, other people's opinions, external success, the future, you will always be anxious. But if your peace depends on your inner state, your values, your actions, you gain something unshakable. Mindfulness gives you the skill of peace. Philosophy gives you the reason for it. And here's something even deeper. Mindfulness helps you experience life without judgment, but philosophy helps you live it with meaning. Anxiety often grows in the gap between experience and meaning. You feel something, but you don't understand why. You sense that something's wrong, but you can't name it. Mindfulness teaches you to stay with that feeling. Philosophy teaches you to interpret it. When you combine the two, you stop running from discomfort. You start decoding it. You learn that your anxiety about the future is often a signal that you're living out of alignment with your deeper values. Your fear of judgment reflects a lack of self-acceptance. That your need for control hides a fear of uncertainty, which, ironically, is the very nature of life. So what helps anxiety more, mindfulness or philosophy? The honest answer is, neither alone. They are two halves of the same healing. Mindfulness helps you be. Philosophy helps you become. If you only meditate, you risk becoming calm but passive, peaceful, yet directionless. If you only think philosophically, you risk becoming wise but restless, insightful, yet unsettled. But when you breathe and reflect, when you still your mind and question its contents, something extraordinary happens. Anxiety becomes awareness, and that awareness is freedom. Think of it like this. Anxiety is a messenger. It arrives with tension and unease, but it's carrying something sacred, truth. When you run from it, it chases you. When you face it, it teaches you. Mindfulness gives you the courage to face it. Philosophy gives you the language to understand it. So, next time anxiety comes, don't ask, how can I get rid of this? Ask, what is this showing me about myself? Notice your body. Observe your thoughts, but also question them. Ask, is this fear real, or is it just an old belief I've outgrown? That's how you turn anxiety into wisdom, by being present enough to feel it and aware enough to learn from it. In a world that teaches us to numb pain, both mindfulness and philosophy remind us to stay awake. Because awakening isn't always peaceful, sometimes it's painful. But through that pain, we grow. If you're struggling with anxiety, remember this. Peace doesn't come from escaping thoughts. It comes from understanding them. You don't need to silence your mind. You need to make friends with it. Let anxiety speak and listen, because the voice trembling inside you might not be weakness. It might be your soul asking for alignment, truth, and freedom. Now I want to ask you, what helps you more when anxiety strikes? Do you find calm in mindfulness or clarity in philosophy? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read your perspective. And remember, anxiety isn't a curse, it's a compass. Follow it wisely, and it will lead you back to yourself. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more reflections like this. Stay mindful, stay thoughtful, and stay awake.